Welcome, everybody. Tonight we have two business owners who went to Christendom several years ago. First, we have John Whittaker, who graduated in 2021. He majored in political science. He is the building operations manager at Whittaker Construction, an innovative family-owned business started by John and his two brothers, Anthony and Joseph, back in 2018. From an early age, John gained experience in various trades and knew he wanted to pursue it as a career. He worked almost daily for the business while studying here at Christendom. And then we have David Hambleton. He was born and raised in Falls Church and was homeschooled in grades K through 12 before attending Christendom for 2 years. We don't hold that against him. He's still an alumni in our family. He started working in the residential home remodeling world at the age of 18 and started his own remodeling company with his brother at age 23. Throughout the last 20 years, he has been through good and bad economies, business highs and lows, which he's going to tell us about. He has employed as few as 2 employees and as many as 25. Gentlemen, come on in, find a seat. There's plenty of room right up here. No standing at this event. He has worked with all sorts of clients on a wide range of project types, and along the way, David has been involved in other types of business, which I really hope you'll tell us about these ones. Some successful as handyman and flooring, and others not so much, such as franchising and food truck catering. Currently, he is running a referral-only, high-end residential remodeling company in Northern Virginia, and looking forward to his next business venture. He lives in Vienna with his wife, Mary, and 6 kids. So, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And although those bios are brief and they shared a little bit, I'd love for you guys to tell us a little bit more about how you got into the trades and how you ended up becoming a business owner. You can do that fairly quickly. So, John, why don't you start?
Yeah.
Yep, you're good.
I was working from a pretty young age in the industry. A good family friend got us into it. My brothers and I both. We started off just doing stuff with him, helping him out. He was a master tradesman, and he taught us all the basics of pretty much every trade. So that was kind of our base of knowledge. And then going up to college, we just started working for other people, doing more and more jobs for, bigger jobs. Kind of started to pay for college that way. And then coming out of school, we just decided might as well throw in and just make this a career. So, yep.
Okay, yeah. I'll ask more questions later. All right, and David, how did you get to it?
All right, well, first of all, welcome everybody, and it's very happy to be here. I was here last weekend with my wife in my class's 20th reunion.
Oh,
so
wow.
I don't get around much, but it's nice being here twice in 1 week. So
Yes.
thanks. All right, real quick, how I got into this industry. I was, my dad owned a landscape company, so I worked with him from when I was, 10 till 18. And I was doing a mulch job across the street from what I didn't know at the time was a remodeler in North Arlington. And he came by and he gave me his card and he said, hey, I'd like some mulching done. Please give his card to my dad and so we could get an estimate. I put that card in my pocket. Bill was his name. And I kept it in my wallet. 6 months later, I got sick of mulching yards and cutting grass. No offense to anyone here who likes that. And started interviewing. And remember, I had Bill's card, pulled it out of my wallet, called him up, and he's like, "Oh, you were that hardworking kid across the street from my house. You're hired. Show up to a job on Monday." Wow. So that's how I got my start.
Your official start, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So hard work pays off, is right?
Hard work pays off. Yes.
Yeah. So talk to us about, let's talk about the training that it requires to go into any kind of trade. So you said a master tradesman. Is that a specific thing that somebody can work towards, or are you saying like they were a master in their trade?
Well, no, in Virginia, so there's the Board for Contractors, which is through DPOR, and they issue licenses for different certification levels. So you got, there's basically an apprentice, and then there's a journeyman, and then there's a master. They have time requirements for each one. So you have to be, I don't remember them exactly. I think it's 3 years for a journeyman's, and then an extra 2 years for your master's. And there's a test associated with it. And that applies to every trade, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, There's a ton of other ones, gas fitting. There's probably 50 or 60 of them.
Wow.
So he was an electrician by trade, and then at our company we have people can hold different licenses for different things. We have all the ones that are pertinent to our trade. So we do electrical, plumbing, mechanical. We're residential and commercial building code, and we've got a couple other ones too. Septic installation,
So you
soil
have a-
evaluation. We have a pretty good myriad of licenses. Basically everything that we need for us to be able to do the work for our jobs, we got those.
You have somebody on the team that has
Yeah,
each of
I
those
hold a few of
licenses.
them. My brothers hold some as well. It's usually an owner of the company or someone that's employed full time that would have that
Okay.
that license for to apply to the company.
Okay.
And that's what allows you to bid on those jobs and carry out that work.
Okay, that's helpful to know.
Yeah.
Because I have heard some people say, well, I can just work under an electrician and then I can become an electrician.
So you can definitely work under them. It's just someone. Oh yeah, like you're saying, someone on the team is supposed to be there full time to
Yeah.
supervise the work being done and make sure it's being done according to code and compliant with good workmanship.
So you've always got to have the licensed professional, basically.
Yeah,
there.
unless you outlaw it. I mean, there's a lot of fly-by-night companies that'll do it without it.
Okay.
But to do it legally, yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of testing that goes along with that just to make sure that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's usually a good thing to look for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about you in your line of work? Similar?
Yes, similar. Everything, I'll just expound a little bit. There are some, so the word trades it can be used as a generic term, and then in the state of Virginia, it can also be used as like a very specific term, like DPOR that John mentioned. It's the Department of Professional Occupation Regulation in the state of Virginia. So, for instance, when I started my flooring company, the difference between like an electrical tradesman and someone who wants to install floors, you don't have to do an apprenticeship to be a floor installer. You have to get another contractor to state that I've witnessed this person install some floors and he does it proficiently. That's the same for painting, tile, hanging drywall, all sorts of different work you can do on a job site. To be able to, and then there's certain trades that this DPOR regulates very highly. And that would be gas fitter, electrician, plumber, and those take apprenticeship, just as John outlined. So one requires more schooling and apprenticeship or learning under someone with these master license. The other one, they're a little bit easier to get, but you can still be working, in the trades, so to speak. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Does that jive, John, with what?
Yeah, just more broadly speaking.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I wanted to ask about the training that you all have had to go through and the licenses, the education, that kind of thing. Tell me about then owning a business and how do you I know a trade and I've worked that trade and I've done this for however many years, and then all of a sudden now I'm going to run a business doing that same thing. So David, how did that kind of work out for you?
Yeah, so when I first started my company in 2005, I had to, so the state of Virginia has different classifications of license. They have a Class A, which is the highest. They have Class B and a Class C. So when you start a business working for any homeowner, you have to have one of those classes of licenses. And then under that business, which is its own entity, you attach trades license, like electrical license, like I have a building license I can build anything residential. John has commercial, we can build anything commercial, and other licenses, plumbing, electric. So the requirements to get a C license in the state of Virginia is easy, but the restrictions of what you can do it limits you. So you can only make like, what is it now, 150,000 a year.
Yeah.
You can't do a job for more than 10,000.
Right.
There's restrictions. So you want to get a B, that's pretty easy to get. You got to show some assets. But to get the Class A builder's license, you have to have a certain number of years in the trades, and you have to have someone to vouch for you who already has their license stating that you can perform this work and that they know you did, contracting for X number of years. And so it took me, a good 6 or 7 years before I went from a B to a full-fledged Class A. And that test was the hardest. I failed it the first time. But there's testing along the way, but it's pretty easy. Getting the Class A is really what you want. It's what people ask for. It's what the different municipalities want to see when you're pulling permits. But it took me about 7 years to get it, eventually. So
you started the business as a Class C or Class B?
I started as a B. I might have been a C for maybe, or just to get started. But I went to B pretty quick, or it might have been right away. I forget. The requirements were pretty easy to get to B right off the bat.
But what made you decide to start a business versus doing that work for somebody else?
My brother called me one night and said we should start a business.
It's that easy?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was very good at what I did at a young age. And so I was like, oh, yeah, anyone could do this. But, that's not necessarily true. It took me 10 years to figure out how to be a good business owner. Okay. I mean, I was going for the trifecta. We had Teresa, I got married, and started a business in 1 year. I should have put one of those off. But I didn't. And it's in my family. A lot of my uncles, my dad. I had a lot of mentors or people that I looked up to that ran businesses. So I thought it was easy. And so my brother and I did it.
Okay. Yeah, same question to you, John. Like, what made you say, let's start a business versus working for other people?
Right. I think, there's a big difference between being good at a trade. I think a lot of people jump to just starting a business. I think there's a lot more to it. I think it's something you should think about before you do it, because we wanted to do it from years past. We just it's something that we'd aspired to do. I think it's something that you have that you want to do because it definitely makes it a lot harder. There's a lot more ducks to keep in a row when it comes down to having a business, as opposed to just going. If you're a good tradesman, you're almost better off going and working for someone unless you really want to have a business. You get saddled with a lot more responsibilities to run it well, at least. I mean, it's very easy to start a business and have it. I've seen a lot of people do that, and they tend to just go under. It seems like the vast majority of friends that I have that started businesses, they just kind of run out and peter out, and then they go and do something for someone else. Okay. So it's something that you definitely want to, think about pretty hard. There's a lot that goes along with that responsibility of it. Mm-hmm. We wanted to do it because we wanted to have our name on stuff. We wanted to do our own thing, start our own brand. We had a good reputation going into it, and it was something we just wanted to expand on. Okay. And as far as, the business side of it is it's a fun side. It's something that I've moved into a lot more. If you don't want to be working for the rest of your life, then it's something that it's kind of a nice out, because you move into management at some point. Okay. Where you start hiring other people on, and it just gives you a kind of a nice retirement path, as opposed to just work until the day you die.
Sure.
Which is a good way to go. I'm not saying, it's not a bad way to go, but if you can kind of, get an exit strategy at some point, the earlier you do that, the better. And that seemed like a good way for me to do it. Okay. So, yeah.
Okay. So kind of taking what you were saying about owning a business is very different than working the trade, and it's opened you up to a lot of new things. Tell us about the day-to-day. What does it look like for you? How often are you on the job site? How often are you in the office? How does communication work with clients and stuff?
Yeah. So what it used to be was, if we were building a house, we'd just be out there building the house every day. You'd do 1,000 different things across the job, which was great. We learned how to do a lot. You're an expert in pretty much every field. What we've moved to is we're a GC primarily, which is a general contractor. And now our job is to basically just manage the project and make sure that it's going according to plan. So we do design. We do the whole project from design to delivery. Okay. Which what it looks like is basically a customer will come to us, say, hey, I have some land, or I don't have land, but I want to build a house. Mm-hmm. So great, you have land. Is it buildable? We'll figure out if it's buildable. Then we'll go ahead and we'll design a house for them that suits their needs. That's my brother mostly. He does all the design, and then once they sign a contract, that's when it hits my desk, and I'll pretty much take that to completion. So it'll be, we have an initial meeting. We're just taking one project. Let's say it's a house. we'll have a meeting with the customer. We'll go over all their spec sheets, their selections, their contract, their design, make sure everything's going to be good. We have tons of meetings throughout the build to site the house, various stages of the construction, the walkthrough, the walkthroughs of rough-ins, close-in, finish out, stuff like that. So that compounds.
We don't know what those words mean.
Okay.
What's rough-in?
Okay, so when you build a house, you kind of put up the initial shell.
Okay.
And then you'll bring in all your your trades. So your electrical, they'll come in, they'll roughen all their wires, and put your receptacles in, your appliance rough-ins.
Okay.
Your mechanical guys will come and run all the ducting. It's all the stuff that you see in a house, but it's basically behind the wall.
Okay.
And then after your plumbers will do the same thing. They all come through and do their anything that's behind drywall is going to be considered your rough-in. And then we'll close that in, and then finish out comes in after all of our paint's done and everything like that. So that's when your sinks go in, your cabinets go in, everything like that. That kind of closes out the house. So you compound that. We have usually 3 to 4 jobs per project manager going at a time. And today, for instance, I might have sent a bunch of emails to people who had questions about ongoing projects. Hey, I saw this on the project. This isn't what I was thinking. It's going to be like this. Oh yeah, you have to explain it. Oh, here's what we're actually doing there. The customers don't usually know the methods of construction, so they'll have questions about something that, hey, I saw this. Is this going to be a problem? No, that's there for this in the future or something like that. Okay. You may go out and meet with a customer. They had have questions for them, so you'll bring them on site and you'll have them walk you through it. Or you may have one of the crews coming through, a big install, if there's a foundation going in, you'll be there to make sure everything's measured right, everything's in the right place, so that once it's poured, you're not going to have any issues. Make sure all your block outs are put in. You're basically thinking ahead of 6 months ahead and making sure everything that's going in is going to work out for you on the finish out end. So that's why it's really nice, because you have to basically know every trade, every guy that's coming in, you have to know their job enough to make sure they're doing it right, so that it's going to work with everybody else that's coming through, instead of just knowing the one thing that you're doing. Sure. You pretty much have to orchestrate the whole thing to make sure they all tie together.
Okay. Can you define a general contractor just really quickly in case they don't know?
Yeah, so a general there's contractors, which would be like your roofer or your plumber or your electrician. They come in and they do one task, one trade. Your general contractor would be someone who contracts with all those people and says, hey, come work for me on the regular basis, and then I have all these jobs that I need you to come in on Monday, and I need you to come in on Tuesday, and I need you to come in on Wednesday. So we'll have a job that'll be a 6 month to a year-long job, and we handle every trade that comes through. They all work for us. And then, as opposed to a contract, you might say, hey, my sink's backed up. Can you come and check it out? And they'll come in and do it.
Okay.
They'll do it themselves.
I see.
So we have, I don't know, somewhere between 50 and 60 different crews that we work with on a revolving basis.
Wow.
That basically will come through as needed for each job.
Okay.
So yeah, in just general, because we can do pretty much any job out there. We're commercial. We're licensed in commercial building code and residential building code. So we do anything from like a spa or a restaurant to a little apartment or something like that. So
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll come back to a little bit more day to day, because I realize I want you to explain how your business is different than what he's doing. If he's going design to delivery, what are you doing?
Yeah,
with
so
remodeling?
We do a lot of mid to high-end residential remodeling, and so that could be this small job we'll do is a complete bathroom, and a large job we'll do will be just doubling the size of someone's house, remodeling the whole thing. The differences would be based on what John described. You should pause. I don't want to describe your business, but from what I've heard is I only run maybe 4 to 5 jobs. Half my work is done with employees, so I have 9 full-time employees. Each of them are good at different things, or a couple different things. And I only work in residential remodeling. So if someone says, hey, I want to build a house, I say I don't do that. And then to further define the GC, if someone were to call me and say, I want a roof done, I say I don't do that. I make my money managing multi-trade or managing multi-contractors. That's where I bring the most value to a client. So if someone wants lights put in, or they just want painting, or they just want a driveway done, I'm not their guy. So I'm the person who's going to organize, complicated job with high expectations and bring the right people, whether it's my employees, subcontractors, vendors, designers, all of that. So we don't do design in-house like you guys do. We used to do that for a number of years. We do just refer people to a couple designers I work with closely. And I'm the only one in the office right now. My company as it's formed now, it's just me and everyone else in the field. So I don't have an office manager, someone answering the phone. No one does paperwork or estimates. I do it all. Teresa works for me 2 hours a week. I see you smiling over there, helping with bookkeeping. But
yeah. Okay, so what does day to day look like then if you're the only one in the office?
Day to day, I'm not in the office a lot.
Oh, you're not. There isn't.
Currently, I got kicked out of my old office. That company was expanding. I was subleasing from, so I've been working from home the last 6 months, and I need to find another office space. But I get up at 7, check the text messages. I've organized everything the night before. I should start there. The night before, so on my way out, I call everybody, all my employees, all my subs that work that day. Usually, there's a lot of texting going on, right? Or calls. And so tomorrow morning, everything's set. I'm not setting anything tomorrow morning. It's already done. So when I can get up a little later, it's not as crazy. And then I just go to every job every other day or as needed. So, I was at 3 of my jobs today, met with one homeowner, met with employees and subs on all those jobs, and just make sure people, my employees have what they need to be productive. The afternoon, I met, actually went to 4 jobs, stopped at another job, didn't get home till 4:30, did some office work. No, I had lunch at home, worked for an hour, then went back, came back at 4:30, and then came out to see you guys. So I do a lot of project management. It's probably the, 70% of my time right now.
Can you define that for us, project management? Because it's a buzzword. I feel like a lot of people talk about it as a job.
Yeah, so, and I'll make a distinction between project management usually refers to someone managing a certain specific set of tasks in any sort of company. I would say what John and I do, it's really more than that. It's, I don't have a better term for it other than running multiple jobs. I don't want to say anyone can be a project manager. That's hard, especially if the job is really complicated. Running multiple jobs is difficult. And different people with different personalities run it differently. I've been doing it so long. It's more, I don't want to say an art form, but a lot of it's up here. It's not good. I couldn't pass it on to anyone. And then there's other people that follow spreadsheets and lists, and they just check off their tasks every day. Running multiple jobs is, you've got, say, if each job has a contractor, me, a designer, or a plan designer, an interior designer, my employees, all the subcontractors, vendors, specialty vendors, the county, freaking county, inspectors, who else could be involved? Utility companies, that's 9 different people, different groups of people that all have opinions, expectations. They want to get paid, right? They want to work efficiently. And it's my job, it's our job to make sure all those things happen. So starting off, it's hard to do that on one job. The more experience you get, and the more of a callous you get.
Yes.
Especially dealing with some employees, not customers, right? They pay my bills, but there's a lot of different ways to do it. But that is the hardest. Contractors fail when they go from running one job to multiple jobs. This is the failure point. You can run one job. Running a couple jobs, you can really fall on your face. So, and I learned that the hard way, and it's hard. Also, running multiple jobs invites overhead, which is something that if you're not busy all the time, overhead will eat you alive. So, yeah, that would be, my, I don't know if I'm answering the question.
Yeah, you told us about your day-to-day and what project management is. John, tell us a little bit more about your day-to-day. So you talked a little bit about communicating with people. How often are you on the job site? I can't remember.
On the job site, pretty similar. I try to get to each job site once every other day at a minimum. Always, if something is going on, I try to be there. Yeah, usually Monday mornings we have a 7 o'clock meeting. Everyone gets there. We go over the schedule for the week. Kind of big things coming up, things to watch out for, things that need to happen in general. And then, we have the daily schedule as well that everyone can follow. So then 8 o'clock comes around. That's our everyday start time. That's when the rest of the crew will get there. And I'll usually bug out to a job site, meet someone, or I'll go out with the crew and we'll go out. We're kind of a hybrid company because we have people that work directly for us full-time, and then we have our subs. So our full-time crew, they're usually pretty busy. We do all of our own site work, our own excavation, land clearing, a lot of the punch-out work at the end of jobs, and any kind of handyman work that we need. This needs to be done really quick because the crew missed it. We're going to go out and do that. So that is kind of our daily schedule, that there's always 1,000 things that need done. And so we're kind of managing that on one side, plus you have all your other stuff on the back end. So yeah, it'll be that, and then I'll usually go out to a job site and visit it with a sub if there's always something going on. And then after that, it's back to the office and usually on the computer for half the day at a minimum.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of phone calls, and then also just back and forth with the crew if they need something. I'm usually the call away. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the phone and on the computer for, I'd say, on average half a day. If you get lucky, you'll be out for a solid week on a machine or something like that. That's always actually like the escape from the boredom of the office. But
sure.
It's kind of one of those things that's a necessary evil. And if you don't do that, then everything goes to pot pretty quickly. Just with things, timelines and stuff like that. You're always on every project. You're on a pretty tight timeline. Everyone wants their thing built yesterday.
Yeah.
For sure. So you're always, making 1,000 promises to 1,000 different people, and it's usually way more than you can actually deliver, but you just do the best you can.
Okay.
So
realistically, how long does it take to go from start to finish on a house? Because I know that there are folks in here that are going to want to build a house one day, and they are going to be told we can get it done in 6 months, and then it won't happen in 6 months.
It totally depends on the house, and B, the customer. I built a house, the fastest house I built was 6 months flat.
Okay. And
that everything rolled on it. The customer knew exactly what they wanted right from the get-go. All the selections, I never had to wait on them for decision. And that's dream team right there. So we pretty much hammered that house out. It was a big house. It was probably 3,000 square feet, 3,500, something like that. Yeah, just hammered it. And then we had another house that was 900 square feet and pretty small. It was a nice house, and that took over a year to build.
Wow.
So it can really vary. The customer is a pretty big variable in there because they can really make it faster or slower depending on what they want. That person wanted third-party inspections at pretty much every phase.
Oh.
Great customer. It wasn't a problem. It was more just they wanted everything really thorough. They had a lot of, interesting selections that kind of just took time to get in and work into the build. It was a complicated build as well. So again, it can really be, there's a big variable there in terms of what people want to do,
right,
and just how fast they are deciding on what they want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the message is, if you want to build a house one day, start making decisions now. Start thinking about what you might want. Pick out your tile and your countertops and all that kind of stuff.
Definitely helps.
Yeah. So David, what about you? What's like a normal timeline on remodeling projects?
Yeah, so we'll do a bathroom, and I have a bathroom crew. We'll do a bathroom in 3 weeks, 2 weeks. It's really straightforward. Smaller projects, we will not start unless they've picked and paid for everything, period.
Oh.
So we do a lot of custom kitchens. I work with an Amish cabinet maker up in Lancaster, PA. And so that's one of our clients' motivations to work with us. They really like our cabinet product. So a kitchen, custom kitchen, it probably takes 6 to 8 months to design and then 4 to 5 months to build.
Wow.
Maybe 4, depending on how much we're doing. If we're not doing a lot in the rest of the house. Then we'll have, finishing up a remodel this week that we started in February. It was a big full house renovation, double the size of it. I mean, probably average, we're on jobs for 4 to 5 months, but it's a pretty wide range. Yeah, it's client, you got to pick your clients, right? I mean, it's someone who doesn't make decisions, it slows down the project. And you just got to be blunt with them and tell them, look, you're holding this up. I know you want it done. But so smaller projects, I don't have that problem because they've already made their decisions. But bigger projects, I will start with them still having a list of things they need to decide on. So if they don't make those decisions, I'll just tell them, hey, this is delayed. I can't frame the, you haven't picked out a rough-in for the shower, so I can't, you haven't picked out the valve for the shower, so I can't put it in. I don't know how to frame the wall and just different things. Everything has a cascading effect. So in construction. And some of that comes back to just picking your clients. There's certain personalities I just won't work for, period. So, and that's just based on experience because I know it's going to be difficult to get their job done. Or if they're really want it done, you give them a price that's 200% higher, and every now and again they say yes. You just kind of bend and glare, and you just do it. So
yes,
yeah, that's the kind of stuff we do. So as far as timelines.
So if anybody in here wants to go into a trade, and then I'm going to ask a second part later, but what do you recommend that they do now to get prepared, John?
Yeah, I think there's basically 2 schools of thought on that. A lot of people say hop in a trade school early and often, like as early as you can, just try to get technical knowledge. At the end of the day, you just need knowledge of the trade to be good. You need 2 things. You need that, and you need to work hard. The best way you can get that is the way for you. Different people respond differently. I don't like going to trade schools. I didn't go to full-on trade school. I went to welding school, and it was good. I mean, you learn stuff for sure. It was like a 3-month class. Learned a lot. Came out a decent welder, but a week on the job, and I could have learned all the stuff that I learned in 3 months.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where I'm a big fan of just, if you're confident in your abilities to learn, then go ahead and go out and sell yourself to some company and say, hey, I don't know anything about this at all, but I want to get into it. The other thing is you don't actually know what you want to get into until you do it for a little bit. So you might say, hey, I really want to be, I want to get into HVAC and I love mechanical, so I'm going to go ahead and pursue that. And then you get into it, and 3 months later, you're like, this is the worst. Like, I hate being in a crawl space all the time.
Sure.
Or whatever it is. So I think for me, I did it this way as well. I just started working for people, and I learned it that way. I think it's a much better way to learn. You usually get paid for it, which is nice instead of paying for a trade school. And if you're with a good company, there's going to be a lot of people there that can teach you good practices for that trade. And then if you hate it, you can dip out and go to a different company and learn something else.
Okay.
I learn a lot more that way. I think you will learn a lot. You're going to see a lot more day to day. You're going to go to a lot of different job sites and see a lot of different applications of the trade. For me, it just seemed to work the best to do it that way.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of good trade schools. I think if you definitely know you want to do something, you're going to get a deeper knowledge of it if you do go to a trade school, especially if you're looking to get a license for that trade. That's where it's going to really shine, is because they're going to go through a lot of the technical stuff of, hey, here's the code for this, and here's what you need to do for this, and in that way it's going to be much more specific. It's going to take a lot longer, and it's going to be a lot more costly for you. So
Okay. Would you agree, disagree, anything to add?
Yeah, I've never been to a trade school, so I don't have a strong opinion on that. I will say, if you want to get into the trades, start young, like now or yesterday. As I was talking about earlier, and John and I were talking about earlier, there's certain trades you need to apprentice under a master. Gas fitter, electrician, plumber, HVAC, those are the big four. There's other ones. So if you know you want to do one of those or you have a lot of interest, you need to find a good company that can train you. Not a huge company. Maybe a company's got 10 employees, where you can talk to the owner, talk to the guy who has the trades license at that company, or better yet, work with him. If you don't know what you want to do, but you want to work with your hands and make good money doing that, just work for a GC. You're going to see all sorts of different things, from digging holes to putting in high-end cabinetry. And so, yeah, if you want to do a trade where you need to get a license from the state that takes 5 to 7 years, the earlier you start working under someone who has that license, the better. Because by the time you're 27, 25, you could have your master's and then start your own business, under that. If you want to do something else in the trades, just get some experience doing that thing. I will say, if you are in the trades, just as far as like income, working for us as an employee, you're not going to make any money. You're not going to be able to raise a family. You're not going to be able to, you're going to make 80 grand, right? We all know, well, that's not very much. You can do it, but it's very tough. So the younger you start and the more you learn, the faster you can make, you can be self-employed. Now, we're self-employed, but we run businesses. You can be a solopreneur. You don't have to hire 10 people and work with 50 subcontractors. Some of my highest earning, I have subs that make double what I make in a year. And it's one guy with 2 helpers. They know their stuff and they knock it out. And I pay him good money to do that. And you can learn that, just whether it's tile, finished carpentry, painting, like a drywall guys. I mean, they make so much money, they work their ass off. Any of these installers, if you're good at it and proficient, you will make good money being a solopreneur. You don't have to have a big business to make it. There's a lot of risk up here that we've taken on.
Yeah.
And, I've made and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because of the amount of risk that's involved. But if you're doing it for yourself, you can make good money. So the earlier you do it, the faster you learn it. You can be making 6 figures running your own business with 1 helper pretty easily. And then once you get your feet under that, then you can look to grow. So you don't have to do what we're doing to make money at this.
And so should they look for summer jobs to get started? Like, because obviously they're here at school.
I work with, I don't know if I can say the name here, but I worked for Petrine when I was at school. Okay. So I was their trim carpenter. So anything difficult, I went and built it. Part-time, summer, work. I mean, you got to get experience. Yeah. So the sooner you can learn something, I have guys come to me out of college and they're like, I want to be in the trades. And they're like 22 or 23. And I'm like, and it's tough. You want to get married? You like some, you dating some nice young girl? It's going to be tough, man. You got to get your butt out there and learn some stuff and work hard. So the sooner you can do it, the more experience you can get now is going to be better for you later. This is my, that would be my advice.
Okay.
So.
Are you guys hiring? Do you need any help?
Yeah. The summer I'm always hiring. So.
Okay. Okay, so going back to the second part of my question, I asked, what should they do now if they're interested in going into a trade? What should they do now if they are interested in starting their own business? Like, what do you feel like you had to learn that it would be helpful for them to know now?
Learn how to sell.
Sell, okay.
Selling, people think selling is just, salesman can be a dirty word for some people, right? Like, I'm a salesman, whatever, used car salesman. The fact of the matter is, you're always selling. If you're trying to convince someone of an idea you have, or get them to do something for you, or convince them that anything, you are selling. And a lot of aspects of selling, you sell in your life every day. You want to get a teacher to convince a teacher to extend your paper deadline. You're trying to sell them an idea, right? So you got to be good at it. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life, you're going to be selling something. Unless, I guess, you talk to AI all day or something. Make your money doing that. But so if you're on a business, learn how to sell. And communicate. You've got to be able to communicate. And this is what Christendom is awesome, which it showed me, is you've got to be able to take thoughts up here and write them down and have people read them and understand them and agree with them. If you can't do that, you're in a world of hurt. It's going to be hard to communicate with people. I work for lawyers, doctors, people you see in the news that work in government. You'd be surprised the emails I get from these people. And I could barely spell when I came here. But these people, I don't know how they got to where they're at, but
Sure.
being able to communicate well and clearly, and be able to sell, what else? And get your license, like we already talked about. Those would be big ones.
Yeah, I would not have thought of those. I like those. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with the selling thing. I think you're primarily selling yourself, especially when you're a small business. So, at least for me, the big thing was just being able to provide something of value to people and being confident in that and expressing that and portraying that. That way people see it and they're like, oh. I think I built my first house. I think I started when I was like 19. I was still at Christendom. And it was like a $650,000 house. And for some reason, this guy decided to have us build it. It didn't really make any sense. I'd never done it before. I told him I'd never done it before. But I was like, hey, I'm pretty confident that this will work out. I've done everything that's required to do this. I just haven't actually put it all together. And he was like, all right, let's do it. And I think just having the confidence in your own abilities and being say, hey, I've never done this as a small business owner just coming out of college. Yeah, you really don't know anything of worth, especially in the trades, unless you've been working in it. But having the confidence in selling yourself is going to go a long way for people, especially towards building your reputation. I think with a small business, the other thing is if you're starting a business, your reputation is everything. I know for us, we've never, when I say sell ourselves, we've never really had any major ad campaigns. We have some bulletin ads, like mostly just charity ads of like, hey, we'll put our name on a t-shirt for a couple grand or something. But we've never had any major ad campaigns. Almost 100% of our business has been referral based. And it's been a lot of business. So it's a weird thing where if you have a good reputation going into that with a small business, that's a make it or break it thing. I've seen a lot of businesses that started up, they had no reputation there, and they just had a really hard time getting off the ground because no one really knew them. And, especially with contractors, everyone hates their contractor, especially like home builders. You guys haven't built houses probably, but if your parents have built a house, I'm sure at the end of it, they had a laundry list of complaints for their home builder. There's always, I hate this thing, this stupid thing happened that we've had customers that have come and built with us. Someone fairly recently built a brand new house here in Front Royal and got to the end of the house and they're like, we don't even like this house. And they sold it and they came and built a brand new house with us, like within months.
Wow.
And so it's like things like that. You just really want to, as a contractor, is like, hey, communication is the other thing I was going to hit on. I was saving that for Christendom because that's the one thing that I think Christendom really helps you with. You're not going to get any technical knowledge of trades at Christendom. It's not, for a tradesman, this is not really the place to go for that. But where it will shine is it teaches you to be a professional, communicative person, whereas your average tradesman is not going to be that way. If you go to any of the crews here, like your average construction crew, it's going to be a bunch of slobs, tatted up, probably with a major drug addiction. Not like a great professional, person that you're going to say, hey, how about I give you, $1 million to build me a house? You're not going to want to do it. But if you can actually portray yourself as an intelligent person that can put your thoughts down on an email, it goes a long way. And then just making sure that the project's going well, communication is everything. It seems like all these issues, like this person that built a house and hated it as soon as they moved into it. It's all just something that they couldn't. There was a missing link between them and their contractor where, hey, we got into our house and we're like, we didn't even like this thing. It's like, well, what happened along the way? Like, you should have seen that right out the gate.
Right.
So, yeah, I think communication is a huge thing, and then just being able to sell yourself, and then just working hard and providing value to people to actually sell, because you can't just be a used car salesman and sell something that doesn't work. You actually have to provide something to back that up.
Yeah, you got to stick around for months and deal with these people. So.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. So what do you wish you had known before you went into the trades or before you started your business?
Oh, gosh.
I'm sure there's
Too much.
a book you could
I
write.
was too young when I started. I wish I had someone to mentor me, a little bit better. I wish I'd have been a little more open. Maybe this is more of I wish I'd have been more open to listening to other people's advice. Or I wish I had gotten a mentor right when I started. I wish I had known more about business. I really didn't know anything about business when I started. I was good at what I did, as John alluded to earlier. Most people say start a business because they're good, with whatever they're building with their hands. So just some basic business skills. And there's a couple good books out there. One that really helped me a lot called Markup and Profit. It's pretty old now. I think he's had some new versions come out. That helped a ton with just estimating and figure out some basic stuff. So more business skills and money in the bank, especially if you're a general contractor. So, I started with a big old zero money in the bank, and that is very difficult to be a GC and manage cash flow when you have $0 in the bank. So that would be, I wish I'd known those things or done those things.
Yeah. What about you, John?
Yeah, I think similar things. I think it's, at least coming through Christendom, there's a pretty big void in terms of business acumen. Like, there's not much, people don't have a whole lot to say about it other than, ELP or whatever they're calling it now.
Yeah,
It's
EFL.
EFL. And it's
It used to be called ELP, Education for a Lifetime Program. Yes.
Yeah, so that you get, Tom McFadden basically tells you how to do your taxes and what your retirement account is, which is good. But that's like, the minimal stuff. There's not much there's no business class or anything like that. So I think trying to get out, I wish I'd just known more about, I don't know, business structure, like how to structure your taxes in terms of business tax is completely different than your personal stuff.
Okay.
A lot of this stuff you're just not going to learn going through your, so maybe, I don't know, doing more research on that would have been nice. And then that's another big one, is just estimating, stuff like that, where you kind of come out and you don't have a whole lot of work on the docket. So you're like, well, I guess I'll just be like the cheapest guy in town.
Sure.
And that was definitely a huge learning curve of realizing, like, no, you're not, if the cheapest guy in town usually gives you the cheapest work, you get what you pay for. Like, if you actually have good work, then sell it as good work. And that's been really interesting, because you lose a lot of the terrible customers that are always out looking for a deal.
Okay.
And you end up with, the people that just, hey, they know what they want. They're willing to pay whatever they need to pay for it, and they're going to be happy. And you want to cut down your customers, not have a bunch of riffraff. You want the the cream of the crop of the customer base.
Sure.
And that definitely has helped a lot.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Best job is the one you don't get.
yeah,
Oh,
100%.
That's true.
okay. And explain that a little bit more.
One bad job will tank 5 good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, monetarily, time. So sometimes the best jobs are the ones you don't get.
Okay.
So basically, say no to people.
As soon as you put a big bid in, you do like a massive bid and you get it, and you're like, the first thing you think is, man, I should have gone higher with it. It's kind of what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes, yeah.
So for the business stuff, remember that LinkedIn Learning is a great resource for you. It's not going to teach you everything, but it can give you some business basics. I know you probably have accountants. You guys just both spoke about the money aspect. You can learn a little bit about that. You can learn about accounting for a small business or marketing for small business. And so don't forget about that resource there. Because I don't know that was necessarily available when you guys were here. Free LinkedIn Learning for everybody. So tell me a little bit about networking and how that has played a role in the work that you do now, the jobs you've gotten, et cetera. John?
Yeah, it's huge, at least for me. We did, like I said, I was still in school when we started our first build. That was 19. And I don't know, most people that are looking to build a house aren't looking for like a teenager. They're looking for someone who's like, been in it for 10, 15 years at least.
Sure.
But we had a pretty good customer base of people that we'd just worked for growing up. And we got that referral. It was like a huge referral for us because that was early on. It was a big, shot in the arm to get things kicked off. And then going out of there, I mean, everything. It's like even people you're going to school with. There's people you're going to school with that you might not even like that much, but just like, treating them like not as a means to an end. I'm not saying you treat them in case they're going to be, rich in the future or something like that. It's more like, no, that person might be someone that you have to work with in 5 years. And it's really nice if you weren't a total jackass to them, back in college. Right. So it's something like that where it's just like, hey, keep your relationships, on the up and up, because you never know when that person might bail you out in the future, and it's something that really helps. Everything we've built, like I said, referrals are a huge thing. We work with people, especially in this area, people that I went to school with. A lot of contractors around are local Catholics that went to school here, and it's kind of nice to do that. And you build that network of people that you can rely on, and they're usually higher performing individuals than Joe Blow down the street. Who's just who knows what he's doing. So, I think that's a huge thing for me. Referrals, and then even things like lenders and stuff. You build good relationships with people. It's instead of just going to a bank for something, you might have people that they appreciate your reputation. Hey, I have a lot of extra money. He might do something. Hey, I want to do something with it. Can you do this? And let me invest in you and do this. Something like that. I mean, there's a lot of things that can factor into that network, but building a solid network of people, it's a huge thing your name getting around. People just talk about you on, might be a flippant comment. Someone's like, oh, that's funny. I've been looking to do that. And then they give you a call and they're like, yeah, so-and-so was just talking to you at like a cocktail party. And this is perfect. Like, I actually want to do this. And that could kick off like a massive deal or something like that. So I think a lot of that stuff is it's very important to keep your relationships, going, and then just remembering people's names so that you can refer to them in the future if you need something that they can do. That's a huge thing.
Yeah, I've said it in a couple EFL classes, and if you haven't heard it yet, you will. You are each other's network. Like sitting next to you, look around this room, like you are each other's network. David just came back for a reunion, and it's like he can probably point to people that he knew while he was here and say, oh yeah, and hopefully you'll answer that way, David, about connecting with people and how you've worked with them or for them and whatnot. So you are each other's network. So yeah, tell us about networking in your line of work.
Networking is everything. The first, when you asked me to come, the first thing I thought was like, oh, it'd be nice to help out some young, college kids. And the second thing was, it's good for me to network.
Yeah.
Is the second thing I thought of immediately. So everything that John said, 100%, and actively pursue people that you want to work for or with in networks. There is so many networking opportunities. COVID slowed it down a little bit, but I was in a network group for 8 years. I was in groups before that. I haven't been proactively networking since COVID, but it's amazing. I forget who coined this phrase. I was listening to a podcast about business, and the guy called it the strength of weak connections. And the point was there's a lot of a weak connection. So the story I said earlier about how I got my first job, which was the perfect place for me to work. I didn't know it at the time. That was a weak connection. The guy gives me his business card. I put it in my wallet. I didn't know him, but he was in my network because I had his number, right? And then I called him 6 months later, and I got a job. That's a weak connection, but all your weak connections are strong if you put them together and you use them, and you water them and you grow them and you foster them. It doesn't take that much time. And I'm horrible with names. I'm sitting up here trying to remember if your name is Kristin or Kristin. But you got a smartphone.
Mrs. Stephens. Mrs. Stephens. There you go. You don't even have to remember.
In my phone, I'll put their name hyphen, I don't know, director of
Career.
Christendom, of careers at Christendom.
Yeah.
So in 5 years, I'll be like, oh, I don't remember her name, but she like did career something. I have 1,000 numbers in my phone. If I need a sub, if I need a lender, and I used to do this when we were slow after the crash, I would just go through and call people. Say, hey, I worked for you 3 years ago. Do you have any work? So keep a network, start it now, and work it. Some of the best things that have ever happened to my companies were just through relationships and people. So
It's not who you know, it's what you know.
yes,
Or not what you know.
other
it's who
way,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yes.
yeah,
Really and truly.
yes.
Okay, so we're winding down a little bit. Something we haven't talked about is how does your faith play into your work, if at all? I mean, yeah, does it?
Yeah.
Can it?
I mean, I think having good Catholic values is a huge thing for people to see. Just a trust, even just a trust-based thing of like, hey, this guy's not going to come and steal all our stuff while he's working in our house.
Sure.
Not saying you're going around saying, hey, I'm Catholic, it's good. It's more like, no, you kind of exude that as a Catholic. If you're a good Catholic, people can see that from a mile away. I mean, if you go to Walmart, you can see like 5 Christendom students, and you know exactly that they're Christendom students. It's just it stands out. But I think that's a huge thing. And then also just the people you work with. We usually hire Catholics, not all of them, but most of them, or most of them are, pretty in line with Catholic, teachings and stuff. And it's just everything is just much more harmonious that way. Everyone, we'll go out. People will dip out for mass at noon or whatever for lunch. It's not a problem. It's not, you just try to keep that as a center, and then it gives you a good base as well. Having a good, St. Joseph, patron saint of builders, is always kind of a nice guy to have in the back pocket. I think it's been huge. It just gives you a good, gives you good purpose to your work as well. It's a good vocation to have, and I don't know, it's been very good for us.
What about you, David?
Yeah, everything John said. I'll add a separate point to that. Go back to selling. If you're trying to sell to someone, I know that I'm the best person that this client should hire. And a lot of that just comes from me being, a practicing, moral, upstanding Catholic. So if anything over the course of the job goes wrong or sideways, morally, I'm there for them. I don't tell them this, but I believe it. And it's a lot easier to sell to people when you believe what you're selling, right? And that belief goes all the way into who you are, right? So what we're doing, we're not selling, Big Macs to people. This isn't not even like yard services or a $10,000 patio. They're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a year, millions of dollars with however many clients. You need to believe what you're doing and that you're going to do the moral right thing when bad things happen, because bad things, mistakes, people make mistakes, will happen. And the challenge will come up, and then you got to step up the plate and do the right thing. I had a house flood last week. My plumbers didn't turn a valve off. Sounds worse than it was. This is like $15,000 mistake. But the first thing I told her is, we'll take care of it. Don't worry. Don't worry about anything. We're going to take care of you. And part of that is me, just maybe protecting my reputation. But a big part of it is it's the right thing to do. I want to do the right thing. So people believe that, they'll trust you. And to build a relationship, you need to build a relationship with people. And part of that is just being who you are and, being moral and following your Catholic faith. So.
Okay. What did we not cover that you guys were hoping to make sure you shared before we turn it over to questions from them? Was there a topic or a question? Because we didn't get to all of it.
I think you just said there was one that was just what's your tips for people coming out, and I would say just I don't know, the 2 biggest things in my opinion are, don't do something unless if you can do something, do it well. Only do something if it's quality and you're proud of it at the end of it. And then just work hard. There's a lot of lazy people out there these days that just have no work ethic. That's what I've seen. They're, if you're at the shop, we've have a lot of employees that have come throughout the years And the ones that always go are the ones that, you know, in the absence of instruction, they'll just sit down and start scrolling on their phone, watching some brain rot instead of just, you know, getting on and doing something useful. So then we have these other guys that they'll come in, no knowledge of the trades or anything, but they're a new employee, and we'll be talking about something, how we're going to do something. And we had one employee who just started organizing the shop, and every time something wasn't happening, he'd just go over to the shelves and start organizing stuff. And over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks, the whole shop was like completely transformed. So it makes a huge difference if you're just willing to buckle down and do something, as opposed to just by default sitting around. I think that's a huge thing. It goes miles for just your success in general, in anything you're doing. It's just being willing to work hard, doing things that are hard, not just looking for, you know, a way out of everything all the time. And then what you do, just do it to the best of your abilities.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I would say if you're going to work with your hands, you're going to make money working with your hands. Over the years of hiring hundreds of people and working just with all sorts of people, being in the trades, you need to have 3 things, and this is my opinion, so you can question me on it, or John, you can take me to task on it if you want. One is you have to be able to visualize. You have to be able to see something in the end product and the steps along the way. I don't care if you're painting, framing, trim, tile, building a house, insulating, whatever you're doing. So you need to take some raw materials and say, these raw materials are going to be this thing, and I see it. I can visualize. Something like, it's like 16% of people can't see a photo of something in their head when they close their eyes, or something like that. If you're one of those people, question your life decisions of being in the trade. And I'm being serious, because there are a lot of people like, I can't do this because you got to coach it because they don't see the end result. You have to show them the end result every step of the way. And it takes them years, not everyone, it takes them a long time to be proficient quickly. The third thing is memory, being able to memorize things. Now, for books, I'm horrible at remembering anything that I read. People memorize things in different ways, or have a good memory in different ways. I found out that anything that I did with my hands, I'll never forget. So if I did something 20 years ago at a certain install with a whatever funny piece of trim or pipe, I'll be like, oh, I did that. This is the problem I had. This way would be easier, and therefore I can do it faster, better, and more efficient. So if you're working every day, learning new things and remembering what you did last week, crap, how many potheads at work cannot remember what they did last week? I'm not joking.
Yeah.
And forget about last year. You could build up a very good bank of knowledge, information that will allow you to be more efficient, faster, and better at a job. The third thing, and this is a little bit hard to grasp, but it's common sense. Okay, usually the most obvious thing is the thing in construction. We talked about, you know, guys that are on construction sites. Common sense. If you tend to overthink things, if you like to daydream, if you like to think of 7 different ways to do a thing, if you got to think about something a long time before you do it, maybe that's not common sense necessarily, but usually the simplest, easiest, commonsensical thing, I don't know how else to describe it, is the best thing to do. If you're getting a shipment of lumber, don't put that crap where you're getting ready to build a wall in 2 days. Put it somewhere else, right? That to me is common sense. And I think people can learn it, but I think it is more innate to some people than others. So if you have common sense, you have a good memory, and you can visualize things, you can learn a trade under someone who is good at what they do very quickly. As John alluded to in the welding, you go to a trading school. So if you think you got those things, and you like to be outside, and you like to work your hands and manage your own schedule, and get paid by the job, not by the hour, and you have those skills, you should find someone to mentor you, and you'll be You'll be very good at what you do, and it won't take you very long. I started as 18. I was building libraries, custom libraries, when I was 22. And God put me at a company that showed me this. But those three things I had, and some of the best other tradespeople have those three things in common. Doesn't mean you have two and you couldn't learn the other one. I'm just saying it takes a little longer. Maybe instead of 4 years, it takes you 7 years or 5 years. But if this is a career, those years can be precious if you want to, start a family. So that'd be the only thing I would like to say, I guess.
I appreciate it. Okay, where's Maria? Oh, can somebody grab Maria? And John, do we have the microphone down here? Okay, awesome. She's just in there tending to the bar. Here she comes. By the way, if you didn't get signed in, hopefully everybody did. We can grab you on the way out. Maria, Patty has got our first question here for us.
So thank you guys for coming out, first of all. I appreciated listening to you, especially a lot of the stuff sounded very familiar because I did trades work over the summer, so the common sense thing was something I lived through.
I've lived through.
But my first question is, what do you think is the best trade school to go to? And, where on the East Coast? I don't know, wherever. And then the second one is a less serious one. Is steel-toe cowboy boots better or regular steel-toe boots?
It's an important question. Can you answer the latter one first? Steel-toed cowboy boots or regular cowboy?
I don't know about cowboy boots. I don't think I own a pair. I've ever worn any. Maybe one time for a Halloween party. But steel toe on the job site, depends on what you're doing.
It's an L.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never been a fan of steel toe in general.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But
cowboy boots,
steel
you're
toe
a fan
boots
of.
are not very
They're
nimble.
very nice.
It's easy to trip with them.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
I-
So
As far as trade schools, I didn't go to trade school, so I don't know the reputations of each one very well. I can't really speak to that. Maybe you can more so. But I know there are some locally. Your better ones are probably going to be obviously closer towards the city. I know there's a few good ones in Fredericksburg. You can probably find a decent one close to wherever you're living or wherever's convenient for you to go. Honestly, a little bit, 5 minutes of research will probably give you more than I could tell you right now. But
Sorry, haven't been to trade school. I'd say find a good contractor that's got an old salty carpenter that is tired of what he's doing and wants to teach it to you.
I think that's going to be better than trade school for you as well.
And also there are companies that will hire you on and then they'll put you through whatever trade school they have. So if you want to become an electrician, you can work with an electrical company and they'll send you to a specific school.
Yeah.
So it depends on what trade for sure. Yeah. Okay, who's got the next question? Up front here. Juan David. Coming up.
So you talked about business and trying to, you said that you wish you learned more about business structuring. I want to ask, is it more of like type of clerical business in terms of like you said accounting, but just balance sheets, revenues, expenses with the cash flows? How much of that into your own local business? Because from what I've understood, I mean, my family, we have a lot of blue collar workers. My mom has her own business, so knowing that, it's a lot of money, a lot of time dealing, especially with counties, taxes, the cities, wherever you live. So how much of that knowledge would you recommend for us to learn and understand to maybe make our own local business?
Well, I think a lot of it's just instinct. I think it's something you have to have a good instinct towards. I've known some people that have gone to business school trying to learn how to run a business, and it's a disaster. It's not gonna. You can't teach that in a way. It's a lot of like what you were saying with common sense. Like you just have to have a good instinct towards like making money. If something's not gonna make you money, you can't be engaged in that, or your business is gonna flop. So I think a lot of the instinctual part of that is pretty major. I think when I say a lot of the business side, I think I'm talking more like what different kinds of business. Are you going to be an LLC? Are you going to be like a corporation or an S corp, filing as an LLC. I mean, there's like a lot of different things out there that you can do, and there's a lot of different reasons why you would do each one. And some of that stuff you can do. I mean, just spend a couple days researching it. I mean, research is a huge thing. You can pretty much figure out anything if you're an intuitive person in your heart. Yeah. So, I think those are the big things. I mean, other things like, you're probably your best bet is talking to someone who is the head of a big business, and they can teach you all that stuff. And take them out for drinks and have them, talk to you for 2 hours, and you learn a lot more than you will going through a semester at business school. A lot of that stuff is it's bookish stuff that really isn't. It's good stuff if you're learning to teach business, but if you're learning to run a business, there's a time and a place for it. I'm just saying for a small business, it doesn't apply nearly as much. That's stuff that you just have to be on the ball about stuff. Hey, we can come and do this for you. Or someone's trying to sell you, a supplier is trying to hose you on material. No, here's a good, hey, instead of that, we're going to buy the X amount of material and you're going to give it to us for this price. Stuff like that. Like a lot of that has to do with negotiations, pricing, and then just learning how not to squander your money, like how to, deduct things for taxes or, setting up payroll, stuff like that, where those are more just clerical things like you're talking about, that you're just going to have to, learn from. People is probably going to be your best, but you can do a lot of research on that as well. Yeah. Probably something to add to that.
Yeah, I would say the business things I wish that I'd known before I started a business: how to read a P&L, profit and loss statement. If you don't know how to read a P&L, you cannot project or accurately calculate your overhead. Your overhead is all the expenses that never stop, regardless of how much work you do, right? It's some people refer to it as burn. If I stopped doing any jobs today, didn't pay any subs or any employees, how much money would I be on the hook for every month? A P&L will tell you that accurately. So I wish I learned how to read a P&L. I wish someone had told me that the balance of your bank account is how you run your business. That is not true. A lot of people, I did this for years. That's how I figured. If I say, oh, look at my account, I have whatever X tens of thousands of dollars in there, I'm doing good. No, that's not necessarily true. Or, I have $1,000 in there, I'm doing bad. Both statements are not true. They're a part of your cash flow projections, withdrawals you have coming in, your receivables. It can be your accounts payable. So learning the P&L, learning about how to make decisions based on what's happening in your estimates versus actuals, your cash flow projections, and your P&L, as opposed to just looking at your bank account saying, oh, I have X money in my bank, so I can buy these things or pay for these things, or I'm doing great because I have whatever amount of money that you think is good in your account. The other thing, if you're doing any sort of GCing, is I wish I knew how to put together and monitor an estimates versus actuals sheet. It's something that I should have known right away. That is basically, what did I estimate? And as the expenses come in, what am I actually paying? And you can adjust future estimates based on that. So I wish I knew those basic things. The other thing John said, government, you're going to get the crap taxed out of you. Everyone wants to tax you. Yeah. Everybody. So it's hard to project those things, but if you're keeping a P&L, estimates versus actuals and all that, you will learn those very quickly, especially if they're up to date.
Okay. Who's got another question? Up front over here. And I guess really quickly before the question, how soon into owning the business did you hire somebody to run that part of the business? Is somebody else doing payroll, or are you guys doing that?
It took us a few years. I think if you're small enough, you can handle it. Yeah. It's not a big deal. It's more like when it starts taking away from, all of a sudden you realize, oh, we're spending a ton of time doing all this stuff that is pretty simple, and someone should just take care of that. That's when a lot of that stuff goes out, like your CPAs and your bookkeepers. We still do bookkeeping and payroll, all that stuff in house. You just need someone that is designated that can take care of it. The big thing for us was we have so many transactions, across the life of a house build. It's like thousands and thousands of transactions come through. So tracking all that stuff, that was a huge step for us. Was just now every penny's tracked, everything is attributed to a project, and then your efficiency goes way up because Now you know exactly where every dollar went, where every dollar was supposed to go, and you can see when something's going wrong with a project from there. But
It's good to start slow and learn these processes so when you hire someone, you know if they're doing a good job or not.
Sure.
I learned that the hard way also. You can pay an expert.
It sounds
and
like you should
start-
take him out for beers.
Yeah,
and
you should
learn a lot from him.
hire an expert and you like look back the last 12 months, you'd be like, what the hell is going on over here? And they're like, oh, I don't know. We just assumed you wanted to put this transaction under this, account or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, if you wanted to get into carpentry, what would you do for that? Would you do an internship or trade school?
What I did, and this was the providential thing, the company that hired me, they saw my potential, and they had this carpenter who was amazing. The guy, I don't think he graduated high school, but he could build anything, and he basically took me under his wing and said, here's how you do it. So I don't have the trade. I guess I would say you should do that, although I think that's pretty hard to find. But it was just, that's what happened with me. I mean, there are I think you can learn some very basic things at a trade school or in a wood shop or an apprenticeship. I know there's a lot of schools out here now. Not a lot, but there are trade schools, right, for young men to go to and learn a trade or get introduced to a trade. But you're really, as John and I have alluded to, you're just going to get some basic stuff there. And I guess that would be a good judge of, do I like this thing? Do I like to do this? And that could answer your question because of whether you like something or not. But really, if you're going to be out making money doing this, you need to be proficient and quick. And, you'll learn as a new guy on a job site of a framing crew, you'll learn a lot about yourself, in a couple weeks pretty quickly. Because the guys, a good crew, they'll treat you with respect, but they'll also give it to you straight, and you'll have to meet those expectations. So find a good company, and or better, find a good carpenter in a company, the setup where they could actually work with you, every day, ideally.
All right. Do we have another question? Anyone else? Oh, yes.
Just out of curiosity, how realistic is it that you could, say, support a family without actually, I guess what I would say is, can you manage that if you only by owning your own company, or
are you saying can you have a family on a tradesman's salary? In my opinion, absolutely. Yeah, it just depends on how hardworking you are. If you're willing to work hard and learn your craft and be good at it, then you can absolutely make plenty of money. We, like Dave was saying earlier, we pay our carpenters. I mean, they make a ton of money. For a house, they'll make anywhere. I mean, it depends on how big the house is, obviously, but they'll make anywhere from like 10 to 20 grand for 5 days of work. So it just depends on if you're good at what you do and you're hardworking, then there's tons of money to be had. You go out and the average, like I was saying earlier, the average worker out here is like, they're not, your competition is not that big. I mean, it's like you can, without that, with minimal effort, you can be miles ahead of the nearest people. And everyone's going to want you if you're reliable, if you're not sleeping in, you're not slobbing around. If you show up and you're hardworking and you're throwing down every day, people see that and they're like, all right, I like this guy. He comes in, he works really hard, he gets it done. He has a consistent timeline. I can predict it. I'll pay him a little extra because, the guy who's cheaper, he might come, he might not. I have to account for an extra week or so because he's so inconsistent with his work. If you're the guy that's just like, Johnny on the spot with everything out there, everything you want, everything you do, you're good at. And you say, hey, I can do it this amount of time, and it's predictable. People are going to love it, and you can pretty much set your price in that field. I don't know. I mean, we pay a lot of money to our carpenters and a lot of our tradesmen, and I see no reason why you couldn't do the same.
Yeah, I think as an employee, I would say it's tougher. You know, I might be jaded just from where I live, you know, inside the Beltway, but, you know, some of my top, they'll make $70,000, $80,000 a year, and that's tough where I live, right? But that's the most they'll make working for me as an employee, right? As a subcontractor or a business owner or a solopreneur or you and a helper, yes, exactly what John said. You can make really good money.
Do we have another question? No? Okay. Well, thank you for coming tonight and listening to our guests. Please give them a round of applause.